What if I told you that 99% of the people watching this right now are completely blind to the hidden strings pulling at their decisions, and you are likely one of them? The most dangerous form of psychological control doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like an undeniable reality crafted by everyone around you. When someone uses authority pressure against you, they are exploiting a deep-seated human instinct to submit to a higher power, making you feel entirely small, isolated, and intellectually inferior. By understanding the mechanics of these covert behavioral tactics, you undergo a profound human transformation, shifting from a vulnerable target to an enlightened strategist who can spot manipulation before it even begins. This is a masterclass in educational psychology and advanced behavioral analysis, designed not to make you a victim, but to provide the ultimate mental improvement, self-protection, and total psychological awareness needed to claim absolute control over your own mind. The first lever of psychological submission is the deliberate application of authority pressure combined with the devastating "everyone agrees with me" tactic. In educational psychology, this relies heavily on the principle of social proof and perceived hierarchy. When a manipulator wants to crush your resistance, they will rarely present it as their own opinion. Instead, they will claim the backing of a nameless, invisible majority or a higher institutional power. By stating that an entire group, department, or expert panel already sides with them, they trigger a profound cognitive bias within your brain that associates dissent with social suicide. To apply this deeply in behavioral dynamics, one frames their personal desires as a universally accepted truth, casually mentioning that the entire team has already noted this issue, or the data completely contradicts your view. This immediately forces the target to fight an uphill battle against an imaginary crowd, rendering their individual perspective feeling deeply illegitimate and isolated. When intellectual isolation isn't enough to force compliance, manipulators seamlessly transition into calculated shame tactics. Shame is one of humanity's most primitive and agonizing emotions because it attacks a person's core identity rather than just their behavior. In behavioral analysis, weaponized shame is deployed to make a target feel inherently flawed, unprofessional, or emotionally unstable for simply asserting a boundary. This can be executed through subtle sighs, micro-expressions of disappointment, or direct phrases like, "I thought you were mature enough to handle this," or "Your reaction is incredibly disappointing given your position." By shifting the focus of the conversation from the actual issue to the target's character flaws, the manipulator triggers an internal crisis. The target becomes so desperate to shed the uncomfortable weight of shame and regain approval that they will readily abandon their original argument and concede to whatever demands are being made of them. This emotional destabilization inevitably forces the target into the exhausting trap of over-explaining. A hallmark sign of psychological dominance is when one party feels completely entitled to demand answers, while the other party feels an urgent, anxious need to defend their sanity, intelligence, or intentions. When a manipulator deliberately feigns confusion, twists your words, or questions your baseline competence, they induce a state of hypervigilance. You begin to offer paragraphs of text, hours of verbal justification, and endless reassurances just to clear your name. To utilize this tactic on a deep level, you simply remain completely stoic, cold, and slightly skeptical in the face of another person's explanation. By offering short, unconvincing responses like "if you say so" or "that's not how it looks," you force the other individual to spiral into over-explanation, effectively making them exhaust their own mental energy while handing you the absolute upper hand in the conversation. To seal this behavioral trap and ensure immediate, unthinking compliance, the manipulator introduces the ultimate accelerator, the fake emergency. Human logic completely shuts down when the brain perceives an imminent threat or a rapidly closing window of time. By inventing an artificial crisis, a sudden deadline, or a fabricated emotional catastrophe, the manipulator completely bypasses your critical thinking faculties. They force you into a state of high cortisol panic where you must act instantly or face catastrophic consequences. In practice, this means framing a standard request as a matter of absolute urgency, demanding an immediate decision before you have time to consult your notes, check with peers, or calm your nervous system. Because the human brain is wired to prioritize immediate survival over long-term logic, you naturally default to compliance just to make the immediate pressure and chaos disappear. Deconstructing these intense, dark psychology mechanisms is the foundational step toward achieving genuine self-growth, permanent awareness, and robust self-protection. True human transformation happens the moment you realize that authority, urgency, and group consensus can all be entirely manufactured illusions designed to exploit your natural desire to fit in and do the right thing. When you learn to pause in the face of a fabricated emergency, when you refuse to over-explain your boundaries, and when you recognize shame as a desperate tool of control rather than a reflection of your worth, you completely neutralize the manipulator's playbook. By elevating your understanding of educational behavioral psychology, you transform your mind into an unshakable fortress, ensuring that your decisions are always entirely your own. The moment you stop scrambling to defend your worth to others is the exact moment they lose the power to dictate your reality.